everyone. This is Dr. K. Jagannayaki, Professor in MBA Department, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Dundigal. So today I would like to discuss about Likert scale. So in previous class we discussed about Guttman scale. So like Guttman scale, even Likert scale is also one of the unidimensional scale. So especially this kind of scale is used to measure the attitudes or behaviors of individuals in social science research. So coming to the introduction part of Likert scale, it is allow an individual to express. See, generally people they used to agree or disagree a particular statement. So if you want to know what is their degree of agreement or disagreement of a particular statement, that can be measurable in terms of Likert scale. So it is a question which is a 5-point or 7-point scale. So on a scale we used to specify either it is 5-point or 7-point. So whenever we are talking about 5-point Likert scale, as I told you, it is the statement about agree or disagree. So how we used to mention the Likert scale means in case of to know the customer satisfaction, how far what is their level of satisfaction about a particular service or about a particular product. In that case, we used to consider Likert scale, and this Likert scale on a 5-point scale we used to specify like this. So it will start from disagree, then it will move towards agreement. So when you are able to measure the level of agree or disagree, so we used to consider two extreme points, highly agree or agree, neither agree nor disagree. Then agree, highly. See here disagree and here it is agree. So like this we used to specify the scale of Likert scale whenever you are going to consider the agree or disagree about a particular statement. So it depends of an individual person how he used to make his choices from strongly agree to strongly disagree. So with the help of Likert scale, one can get a holistic view of people's opinions. So it doesn't mean that my opinion is different than yours. So it may vary from one person to another person. So basing on their own opinion, they used to rate the Likert scale. So all Likert scales includes a midpoint. So that is always neutral in nature. Coming to the agreement and disagreement of a particular statement, the midpoint is nothing but neither agree nor disagree. So you are in a dilemma. You are unable to choose any one of the option. Either you should go with agree or you should go with disagree. So that point is known as neither agree nor disagree. So this scale was developed by Francis Likert in the year 1932, and it is especially used in social science research. Previously also I told you so regarding the behavior of an individual people. So especially when you are talking about the consumer perceptions. So in marketing related research studies, whenever the marketing manager or sales manager they want to conduct any kind of research related to the market, so they used to consider the opinions of consumers. So basing on the consumers' opinions, their feedback only, they can able to come out with new products and new services. What exactly the consumer they are expecting from the company. So for that they need to conduct a market research, and where they used to apply this Likert scale. So how it is useful to the researchers means, so with the help of Likert scale, even the researcher can also have the ability to measure the respondents' opinions towards a particular product, a particular brand, what kind of features they are expecting from the product, and whether the services, whatever rendered by the companies, whether they can able to satisfy the expectations of the consumers, etc. So all these things where we can apply Likert scale. So measuring opinions helps to measure the level of changes required. So by way of conducting a market research survey, Even the companies also, they can able to analyze the consumer about their perceptions, about their taste preferences. Everything is possible. So using a quantitative data collection tool in research, so whenever your data is concerned with quantitative research, then immediately one should go with Likert scale. It allows the research teams to understand respondent sentiments. So basing on the sentiments only people they use to respond, their opinions also may vary accordingly. So if you want to quantify either the likes or dislikes of the people and how they used to make timely changes or timely decisions, that should be depends upon the type of scale what you are using to measure the individual person's agree and disagree statements. So supplies a critical tool in insights collection and management process of brand and research teams. So whenever you are planning to conduct any kind of research, so first of all we should able to understand what kind of research design it is, whether it is qualitative research or quantitative research. So if you want to measure certain characteristics or qualities or some parameters, then the researcher should have awareness about what kind of measurement of scale they have to use in order to find an accurate solution to the research problem. So coming to the definition of Likert scale is also a unidimensional scale that the researchers use to collect respondents' attitudes and opinions. So coming to the psychometric scale, to understand the views and perspective towards a brand, product, or target market. So, when you are going to consider, it depends upon the researcher what kind of Likert scale, whether they should go with 5 point or sometimes they also consider 7 point Likert scale. It depends upon the individual researcher how they are going to analyze the respondents' responses just by using this type of psychometric scale. So the psychologist Renis Likert, basically he is a psychologist, and whenever he used the type of scales just to understand what kind of attitudes or people have and how do they behave in a particular situation, and that can be measurable by using group responses. So they used to categorize the respondents into different groups, and basing on that they will use appropriate scales. So whatever responses they used to collect from the target group of respondents, those responses are measured in a range of values. So some cases, even if you are asking about how do you rank a particular thing, so sometimes we may have 1 to 10 scale points on a scale. Let us consider one example. If the researcher uses a Likert scale question as a dichotomous option question to collect product feedback. So whenever you are saying that there is dichotomous options, dichotomous means two. Either you have only two options, agree or disagree, that's it. So the respondent frames the question as the product was a good purchase. So whenever you are planning to ask any kind of response from the respondent, for example in case of this example the product was a good person, so that leads to the opinions of an individual consumer. So one customer he will say that the product was a good purchase, so he is going to agree with the statement, but it doesn't mean that every customer should have the same type of opinion on the product, on the brand, or on the same service. So it may depends on the individual consumer's perception. So the other way to frame this question is please state your satisfaction level with the product. So there is a difference in case of first example we have only two options, either agree or disagree. But whereas coming to the second mode of question, whenever you are asking please state your satisfaction level with the products, so when I am asking To say about your satisfaction level, there we used to have multiple options with the question of strongly agree, agree, neither agree nor disagree, disagree, strongly disagree. So we may have different options when I am asking about your satisfaction level. So you are giving some scope to the respondent so that we can have a depth analysis over it. So these responses ranges from very dissatisfied to very satisfied. So when responding to an item on the Likert scale, the user responds based explicitly on their agreement or disagreement level. So just we used to consider the cumulative scales of all the respondents together, and basing on that we used to analyze a particular situation, a particular item. So these scales allow for determining the level of agreement or disagreement of the respondents. So the Likert scale assumes that the strength and intensity of the experience are linear. So linear means they are both the strength as well as intensity, they used to move in the same direction. So it goes from a complete agreement to a complete disagreement. So assuming that the attitudes can be measured. So in that way, we used to formulate the Likert scale in 5 point, 7 point. Sometimes it depends on the individual researcher. How do they set these scales? So this is the structure of Likert scale. So it moves from positive to negative. Strongly agree, agree, neutral. Neutral means neither agree nor disagree. And then comes to disagree. The next level, strongly disagree. So coming to the types of Likert scale, basically Likert scales, they are divided into two types, even and odd Likert scale. So these scales, they used to measure the level of customer satisfaction and even employee experience in an organization. So that can be measurable with the help of Likert scale. So coming to these two types, even and odd Likert scale. So first let us start with even Likert scale. So in this case, these even Likert scales, they used to collect extreme feedback without providing a neutral option. So only two things will be there. Like as I told you, dichotomous options, agree and disagree. So there is no further scope in this, or they used to exclude the neutral option. So they let us take in case of even, either they may have to agree or disagree, or else they may have strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree. So, as if you observe the points on a scale, there are four. Four means again it is an even number. So, just by excluding the neutral option from the Likert scale, then it is said to be even Likert scale. But whereas coming to odd Likert scale, it means we also include another one more option, that is neutral option in the Likert scale. So generally even Likert scales, they may be 4 point or 8 point scales of opinions that should be considered in some of the examples without neutral choice. So coming to odd Likert scale, it depends upon the number of points on a scale. So if you are going to construct a 5 point or 7 point, 9 point, so these 5, 7, 9, these are known as odd numbers. So there will be 5 points, 7 points, 9 points on the scale. So 9 point Likert scale is quite uncommon, but most of the cases people will prefer 5 or 7. So that type of Likert scales are known as odd Likert scale. Then coming to the Likert scale examples. First, agreement. So as I told you, we'll start from positive attitude to negative thing. So coming to the agreement, what kind of options that are available? In case of agreement, we used to specify the scale as strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. But whereas coming to the frequency is that the maximum times, how many times you are going to visit the shop to purchase a particular product kind of thing. So here in this case, when I am talking about frequency, so how do you formulate or construct a Likert scale means on a scale will take 5 point like very frequently, occasionally, then rarely, then next one is never. So this type of frequency rating points we used to set on a 5 point rating scale as it is concerned with the number. But third category is when it is related to the importance. Then in that case, we used to set the scale as extremely important, very important, moderately important, slightly important, not important at all. So like this we used to categorize. The next one is interest. If it is related to the interest of an individual person, then we'll give certain options basing on that. The respondent has to select one option like very interested, somewhat interested, neutral, somewhat uninterested, very uninterested. So it depends upon the individual person's perception. Basing on that, they are going to select one option among the available options. So these are some of the examples of Likert scale. Then coming to the characteristics of Likert scale, related answers. So first one is easily related to the sentence answers. So whatever statement you are providing to the respondent, in the same way we used to specify the scale with relevance to the existing question. So there should not be any unrelevance, like if you're talking about whether the relationship between items or sentence is evident. So everything we used to disclose. Very transparency should be maintained in the formulation of statement as well as the options whatever you are going to provide that should be relevant to the existing topic or existing item. The next one is scale type. So these items must always have two extreme points or positions, you can say, agree and disagree, where we used to talk about highly agree and highly disagree. So these 2 points are known as extreme positions. Then third characteristic is that number of options. So we'll have more number of options, but the most common Likert scale that is used in all social science research, whatever it is concerned with related to the customer satisfaction or employee experience, where they used to have only 5 items on Likert scale. Then next characteristic is increasing reliability of the scale. See here, whenever you are planning to create 7 point scale, so just we need to add very to the top and bottom of the 5 point scales. So it means that very strongly agree, next strongly agree, neither agree nor disagree, then agree, disagree, strongly disagree, and very strongly disagree. So like how we used to add one more point to the existing one, like how we are going to increase the reliability of this scale. Then next one is using wide scales. So as a general rule, this Likert scale and other like Gutman scale, Thurston scale, Bogada scale, they are recommended that it will be better to use a scale as wide as possible. See, you cannot narrow it, but you can make it a broader way so that if you're going to extend the width of the scale, then more accuracy will be there in the research result. The next one is lack of neutral option. See, generally in case of even Likert scales, as we know, we used to have only 4, 6, 8 like that, because you are going to eliminate the neutral possibility and a forced choice survey scale. Even though the consumers or the employees, they are interested to go with neither agree nor disagree, so you are permanently removing that option. So in that case, whatever available options should be there on Likert scale, forcibly they have to select one among them. And next characteristic is intrinsic variable. So underlying variable is the interval level. So how do we measure the scale? Means it depends upon the interval level, because if you take how you are going to measure the performance of a student, so it depends upon the marks. So we used to categorize the marks by giving some range 0 to 10, how many students are there, then 20, 20, another category 30, 40, 80, 90, like that we used to give some intervals. So whenever the data is related to interval scales, then there we are going to apply Likert scale. So these are the characteristics of Likert scale. Then coming to the data and analysis. So Likert scale is a standard classification format for studies. The respondents, they used to provide their opinion, so about the quality of a product or about the quality of a service from high to low or better to worse using 2, 4, 5 or 7 levels. So it depends. Again, there is no permanent scale that you should process should be there, that you have to use only 2-point scale or 4.57 like that. So it depends upon the individual researcher how he is going to formulate his own research data. Then the collected data grouped into a hierarchy of 4 fundamental measurement levels. Nominal data. So the data in which answers classified into variables, they need not necessarily have quantitative data, or there should not be any kind of order can be maintained, and that type of data is known as nominal data. But whereas coming to ordinal data, it is possible to sort out or classify the answers, but it is impossible to measure the distance. That type of scale is known as ordinal data. So interval data means aggregate data in which measurement of orders or distances can be made is called interval data. So just now we took one example, coming to the marks of an individual student in a particular subject. The subject teacher, they used to evaluate the performance of the students in a class, so that can be categorized under interval, equal intervals. So how many students they secured marks between 40 to 50, like that they used to make some kind of distance in terms of interval data. The next one is ratio data. It is similar to interval data, but the only difference in case of interval and ratio data is, in case of interval data, there should not be any zero, but whereas in case of ratio data, we'll consider zero as a point of origin. And the data analysis using nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio data are transparent and straightforward, but only in case of ordinal data, we need to use Likert scale or some other types of unidimensional scales, because there is no exact or straightforward questions, as it depends upon the level of their agreement or disagreement. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.